again. Next up is Ready. 3 minutes on the clock for Ready. In three, I'd like to have the next speakers out when the other ones are doing Q&A, just to my stage manager. Okay, in 3 minutes on the clock. 3, 2, go.
Good afternoon. I'm David, co-founder and CEO of Ready. With me is John Slimak, co-founder and head of product. Ready is a cross-platform programming environment for personal robotics that makes robotics accessible to all of us. By any measure, the future of robotics is personal. 96% of the units that will ship in the next 3 years are going straight into people's homes. But programming these robots is really hard. With Ready, it's really easy. Think of Ready as an if this, then that for personal robotics. This is Ready. I'm creating a new scene. I'm adding a drone and a Sphero to my scene. I'm going to give the drone a control behavior so we can fly it. And I'm going to give the Sphero a move behavior so it can respond. Let's go ahead and test the drone. We hit play. The drone in our lab lifts off and follows the position of the drone on screen. Now, let's go ahead and program Sphero to respond to the drone's position. We open the Ready programming area, and we say, when the drone is to the right of Sphero, do Sphero move towards the drone. And then the inverse. When the drone is to the left of Sphero, do Sphero move away from the drone. It's that easy. With Ready, anybody can program. Let's take a look and see how our scene behaves. The drone lifts off, crosses over, and Sphero moves away. Comes back, Sphero moves towards, crosses over, and Sphero moves away. We launched Ready in the fall of 2016 as the easiest way for non-coders to create software. We've grown to 30,000 users at 10% a week compounding with not a dime spent on paid media and no viral growth engine. Our average user is 18 years old, and we are all over the world. It's from this cohort of users that we heard the question, can we use Ready to program our robots? We took a look, and this is what we learned. The robotics industry, great at making hardware, not so great at software. The programming environment's either so hard to use, it's very hard to give instructions for most people, or so simplistic that what you achieve doesn't mean very much. And either way, one company's robot, Sphero, can't talk across platforms to another company's robot, Cosmo. With Ready in the middle, now they can. People are unblocked to give these devices instructions, and Sphero can talk across platforms to Cosmo. We also really like this personal robotics space. It's grown from nothing to $3 billion in 2015. It'll be at $14 billion by 2020. And it's adjacent to huge verticals, Internet of Things and enterprise. As we get it right for the non-coders in the middle vertical, we're getting it right for all those non-coders in those other adjacent verticals so they can give their robots complex instructions as well. This is a bridgehead to get there. We make money by licensing Ready to the toy companies and the personal robotics companies as the operating system. We believe if we can penetrate just 5% of the market in the next 3 years, we can generate $35 million of GMV. But that's just the start. As we unblock for millions of people this type of programming, it only gets bigger and bigger. The team is uniquely qualified to execute on this opportunity. We have over 70 years of collective experience building sophisticated and complex software. This moment reminds us so much of the early days of the PC. Hard to program, they don't talk to each other, and relatively inaccessible for most users. A little company founded in Albuquerque set out to solve that called Microsoft. Likewise, in 2017, the same opportunity exists with personal robotics and Ready. So we're raising a bit more capital to complete integration with the major robotics platforms and unblock robotics for all of us. And from there, we'll have one OS to rule them all. Thanks for listening, and I welcome your questions.
All right. Wow. It's the strong cohort. Ryan, you got left out in the last one.
Yeah.
Why don't you start?
Sounds good. Really, really interesting. Love what you guys are doing. Congrats on all the progress so far.
Right into the microphone.
So the thing I'd love to hear a little bit more about is how you're working with the toy companies and the manufacturers to license your technology and kind of what the pipeline looks like over the next year or so.
Yeah. So the question was about how we work with the toy and robotics companies. We're currently under NDA with one of the largest players in the space to actually do this job. What's interesting for all these companies is they have to provide software as table stakes to just be in this game, right? Because if you can't program the device, what's the point of spending $100 or more on the thing? What they typically do is they use an open source solution like Scratch, Google's Blockly, or even just a C# terminal doing direct programming to the device. They see software as essentially a cost center. It eats into their margin. They make money directly off the sale of the robot. So the opportunity for us is to increase the LTV, the long-term value of each of their customers, by actually allowing them to do much more with the devices they purchased by using Ready. It also allows us to create a platform where we can then upsell, right, to all these individuals additional robotic behaviors to create even more of a play mechanic and an engage mechanic with all these devices. When you look at it that way, it becomes a very, very large opportunity. It could be a $100 billion opportunity over the next 5 to 10 years for this company if we, in fact, become the OS for all these devices across platforms, unblocking them.
Another question.
Yeah, can you dig a little bit more into your market size?
Sure.
Like some of your numbers didn't really resonate with me. The maker community, I don't think, is necessarily a business in and of itself. And are you counting personal robotics people that use Aspiro?
That's correct. So, Jenny, that's a great, great question. And let's just think about it for a minute. If we look at the cycles of technology, what drives the adoption of technology in the beginning? What drove the PC in the beginning between 1975 and 1981? Hackers, kids, and hobbyists. 1978, someone would have looked at me and said, you know what? This is a toy for kids. It's for playing Space Invaders. And yet, 3 years later, it became one of the dominant tools in the workspace and created one of the largest industries in the world, the tech industry. Personal robotics is on the precise same trajectory that we saw with the personal computer, starting with hackers, hobbyists, and kids. But remember, when I said that these personal robots, 96% are going to people's homes, that's 42 million, remember this, 42 million units in the next 3 years worldwide that are shipping. That's a tremendous amount of technology that's going into our homes. And if the notion is that we're blocked on programming them, if we can unlock all that blockage, that's creating tremendous enterprise value, not only for those companies, but for this company. If you're an investor in this company, we're going to be growing one of the largest operating systems in the world for these devices.
Let's take another question.
But don't the bot makers want to vertically integrate the OS and own that?
It's a fantastic question. Like, why wouldn't the hardware companies do this themselves, right? Again, let's flash back to the mechanics of building hardware. This is a ruthless, brutal industry. It's largely converging around Arduino, so we're currently Arduino compatible today, right? Just like the Intel 8088 processor converging around the PC. So as these companies fight one against the other, companies coming out of Shenzhen like MakeBlock that raised $32 million 3 weeks ago, right? Integrating all this hardware to sell a $100 robot to people. The software is a cost center. And if you say, okay, we have to be super awesome at integrating all this hardware, and on top of that, we've got to be super awesome at building incredibly sophisticated software that works for multiple devices across all platforms, pretty tough to succeed as that company. That's why the early PC makers basically said, hey, we'd like Microsoft, this little company, to do MS-DOS for us. We do not want to be in the business of making this software. Some did, like Apple, and you see where that went in those 30 years, right? It didn't work out. It wasn't until much later that they figured that out. So these robot companies have a financial disincentive currently, eats into their margin, to make this software.
Okay, let's hear it for Ready. Well done.
Thank you.